powder coat.
Hell yeah. Alright, so it's time to start. We're going to start off with the steering bearings. Now, I have already done just like one or two little things to the frame since I've got it back from powder coat. What I did is I took some paint and I have like modeling brushes and stuff like that, so took some paint and just brushed in some areas like, within the tube here and like, near the bearing races, not on the bearing races, but near them, where powder coat is going to be taped off. So, like trying to seal off some of those areas from potential corrosion as we go. One of the things that you need to, if you haven't had anything powder coated before, I preach a lot about, or when people ask me about powder coating, like where do I go, what are you looking for? So try to find somebody who is familiar with motorcycles, for one, because that will kind of eliminate a step that you have to explain, like, hey, I don't want this area taped off. Like, some stuff's pretty obvious, but if they're not familiar with motorcycles, it may not be as obvious. So find a quality place and then pay, you absolutely get what you pay for here. So don't cheap out on powder coat. I've recommended to people like where to go when they ask me, and then they go shop around, they find somebody cheaper, they go take it to them, and then they get it back, and I'm like, hey, they powder coated within your bearing races here. They powder coated in this wrong spot, or the powder coat is uneven or unfinished, or they just like completely missed areas. And then they have to go get it done again and pay more money. So then they end up being out double the time and then like 1.5 times the cost of the original place. Don't try to undercut it. Pay for quality here. This is something you really want to be nice. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting this thing together. And since I took the prep with taping things and sealing things and explaining to the shop, some specific areas, this should go pretty smooth. So I'm gonna start with the steering bearing, or the neck races here, and then work on pushing the bearing onto the lower triple or the stem, and then maybe we'll get the triple on this thing, and then hopefully maybe we can get the swing arm and shock, and then stab the forks on it, make it a roller. Alright, so we're slowly making some progress here. We've got the front end on. The wheel temporarily fit until I put the brake rotors back on it and stuff like that. So we're moving along. Up next, I'm putting the swing arm on. Now, to go back to powder coating here, to powder coat, if they do it correctly, they should be sandblasting everything, and in this case, they definitely do. So when you get stuff back, you're going to want to try to remove all of the sand you can, and it's going to be tough, all right? So like within these bearing surfaces here, they were taped off, but they're still going to have residual sand and debris in them from the sandblasting process. So you definitely don't want to have sand getting into your nice, expensive, bearings. It's like 25 bucks a pop for a CX500 Swingarm bearing for a quality brand. So you definitely want to make sure you get that cleared out. It's like, as an example with this one, if you pick up the, or when I first got it back, when you pick up the frame and move it, you can hear the sand moving around the tubes. So you spend some time with the compressor and you can usually get most of it out. So I was actually forcing air in through the taillight wiring hole there, and then it was just going around the hoop and then coming back out the wiring relief hole. And I've done it in the front and the stem and everything like that. But get all the sand out because you don't want that in your bearings. Time for the most excellent fun part of doing anything. Packing bearings. It's like never, ever, ever clean with gloves on gloves and whatever. It doesn't matter. So CX is a little bit unique. It actually has two Swingarm taper roller bearings to isolate it and put pressure on it via the tensioning pin here. But anyway, there's a bearing that sits in a race within the frame, and then there's a seal that goes on the back side, and both of those go on the pivot here. So we duplicate that on both sides. So I have new Koyo bearings, and then I have actual Honda seals. So let me go ahead and get some grease going here. No matter how many times I've seen this done, I don't know. I still make a mess. This grease might be a little bit different color than maybe what you're expecting, but just trying something different on this one based off of some recommendations. So I probably won't link this one until I'm confident in recommending it, you know. But if you're doing this, you definitely want to use a quality grease or the correct grease for the application. And with this one, toss the bearing in. We'll have that one be a placeholder, and then we will go ahead and get this one going. Skills. What other YouTube channel do you get this on? This is quality content right here. $5, I get grease on my nose. There goes a Titanic failure here. To quote my gym teacher back in middle school, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Alright, I think we're set on this one. Bearing in on this side. Rotated a bit. Alright. Out. Now our seals. I've already grabbed a socket that matches the outside diameter of this. Lightly tap it in. right. Gloveless here. Shove a little bit in behind that seal. So we'll go ahead and throw more grease in behind that seal, and then I'm going to go ahead and just lightly grease the pivots here, and then we'll install the swing arm. While I'm thinking of it, I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of anti-seize on this actual pin. Not the pin, but the threaded portion. Since remember the threads of the frame and everything, it's been sandblasted, so it's been exposed. I can't really put any kind of coating on it, but I can put a little bit of anti-seize just as an added precaution. This needs to be adjusted in the future, we're not going to have a problem. Arms on. It's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and grab the shock up there, and we'll go ahead and get that thing on there. And I can throw on my final drive flange on the rear wheel, and then we should have this thing as a roller here in just a little bit. So among other things I have going on the bench right now for the GS450 that I'm working on, and then the CX500. One of the things I need to do today is I need to try to seal up this differential, or the final drive unit on the CX. I just simply pulled it apart just to internally clean everything, check it over, look at the wear pattern on the teeth here. All checks out fine. It was, never disassembled from the factory, so there's no reason to think that it had any issues. But regardless, pulled apart, inspect it. Now it's time to go back together. Now with this, there's actually no physical gasket in between here, so what I'm going to use is some Permatex forma gasket, and this is item, let's see, oh boy, 80017. So I'll link this in the description, but this is a good sealant for like machine surfaces like this. So I've used this obviously numerous times, but this is the stuff we're going to use in this instance. So we will go ahead, put a thin layer here, get it nice and even. We don't want to put too much on it. And then we'll put the final drive back together, torque everything to spec. I have the manual over there. But yep, just want to showcase, this is just one of the other things that I use here. Final drive flange on here. Very tight fit. Courtesy of Cognito Moto. They make good products here. If you're just kind of tuning into this build series and you're wondering where these wheels came from, I'll link either Cognito Moto or the original video I made on unboxing these with even more information within it. And on these, I'm going to use red Loctite because I don't want them coming out ever. Then I'll go ahead and torque those and be good to go on that. And then I'm going to start unwrapping the differential. All right, so we have a roller, and my plan for now is to get this thing off the table and go ahead and get it out of the shop. So I'm gonna go ahead and store it in a nearby facility where I have the rest of my bikes. And in the meantime, I have to knock out you know, some more work on other bikes and whatnot. But while I'm not working on those, I have the engine and other detail parts to work on. So that's gonna take up a lot of space. Space is at a premium here in this shop, as you know. So get this thing out of here and then start working on some of the finer details, and then hopefully we can get the engine to a point where we can just, you know, hang it back up into the bike. And then from there it'll really start taking shape as far as like wiring and all the final fit and finish products. So anyway, this is looking really good. I dig the satin black and I can't wait to get along further. So lots to do, lots still to order, but we're getting there.